So today I want to talk about a bit of my background and how I've come to this point in my life. And I'm talking about this not to gain sympathy or, oh, look what you've done, you're amazing. I'm doing it to raise awareness and to not give up on yourself, to be your own advocate, especially when it comes to medical, because believe me, I had to. And I was just very lucky that I had a partner who was also advocating for me. He was ensuring that everything was being done and doing his own research. So we would go in double whammy, so they couldn't blindside us or ignore us and things like that. So this starts many years ago, and it's pretty insane how many years ago it is, because it feels like it was yesterday when this all started. So I was diagnosed as a BRCA1 carrier when I was in my 20s, but back then you had to pay to get the test done, and it was quite a hefty payment. But the reason why I did it is because I had a big family history of breast cancer, and I was getting some really horrible things going on. So did the test, came back BRCA1, so that means that I've got a higher chance of getting breast cancer or ovarian cancer. And decided I would just monitor it, because I was so young and I was like very naive about that type of thing in that sense. So I monitored it for, years, like 10 years, 10, 12 years. And I started just living my life and not worrying about, breast cancer or ovarian cancer. I didn't really think about it. To be honest, I was quite naive. But I digress. I lived, unfortunately, I was in an awful situation of domestic violence, which lasted 7 years, and that was quite a horrible time. But I was lucky enough to get out of it, and I moved overseas. So I started to heal, I started to rebuild, I started to live for me and not for what someone else was telling me I was meant to be, which is quite a thing, because when you're in that situation, you don't really know what you really like. It's what they like. It's how can I not make the biggest impact so I don't piss them off or upset them. And I can't even say it was due to drugs or booze, because it wasn't. It was always done sober. So that says a lot, doesn't it, really? But as I say, I was very fortunate to get out and started to live. I was very angry for a very long time. I had this huge chip on my shoulder, and especially when it came to men, I was horrible, because I just tarnished everyone with the same brush. And they're not all the same. They're not. And the same as women. There's women out there who are also abusers and stuff. So, I was just lucky to get away and to find me. And eventually I went back to London and had a great job. I was flitting around and working for the universities and having a real life. And I met my future husband. And the weirdest thing is that we both knew within like 48 hours that we were the right ones to be together. You know, I think maybe because we were older and wiser, and we put everything on the table. We said, we're not going to tolerate this. This is what we've been through. There was no BS. We were sick of having to play a game, I suppose, in this thing called dating. And we just fit. We just both knew that we were the right ones for each other. And now we're like 14 years down the line and we're married and everything else. But within 4 months, I started to become really ill. And I started to have anaphylactic shock, like monthly, which is insane, because it's very rare to have it so often. But end up in A&E, having like the highest level of anaphylactic shock, and they just had no idea what was going on. I went to immunologists, I had all these tests done, I had biopsies done, I had bone marrow biopsies done. It was a horrendous time. And they were stumped. They had no clue what was causing this. And my husband started thinking, he's like, but surely, you know, you are having this every time you're due on your period. There has to be a link somewhere. And they're like, no, don't be silly. It can't be that. Otherwise she would have had it all of her life, you know. And he researched and he found one paper on autoimmune progesterone disease. And one paper in America. That's how rare it was. But it's not rare because most women either are high-V or they have a slight like allergic reaction, like itchy, you know, when it comes to period time. Or you can go to the extreme of APD where you go anaphylaxis like me. So you're basically allergic to your own progesterone. Now, why it happened later in life, we will never know. Hormones change, things happen, but you will never know how or why. And they went, no, it can't be that. So we had to get permission from the Allergy Council in the UK because progesterone was not tested as a scratch test. Eventually got that, and the guy's like, oh, nothing's going to happen. Did the scratch test, went full-blown anaphylactic. And they're like, oh my God, this is insane. There was no case in the UK of this at the time, and to be honest, no one had really heard of it. So yeah, 21st person in the world diagnosed with it. But I can tell you now it's not rare, because I'm sure there's a lot of women out there that have it and are being told it's all in our heads, or we're having a reaction to our environment or something, because I was told all those things and they make you feel like you are going a bit insane, which is not very supportive, is it? And you do start doubting yourself, and you do start feeling like you're in the middle of this different universe that everyone else is living in, and you just feel like you're scared to do anything because you don't know what's going to kick it off. So this was the start of my journey. I hope I haven't bored you. And this is just the start. There's a whole load more to come. Have a great day.